Did you know your tax return directly impacts how much you pay for Medicare? It's true. Let's get into it. Seeing as we're in tax season right now and April 15th is slowly creeping up, we're going to go ahead and review this with you today. So, I'm going to go through the amounts in a few minutes, but first I want to kind of talk about how this works with you. So cheers, I'm going to take a sip of my gin and tonic and dive on in. So Medicare uses your tax return from 2 years ago. So essentially right now it's 2025. So we are going to look at your 2023 tax return, and that will dictate what you pay in 2025 for Part B premium. And as a reminder, that is the doctor side of things. Now, Part A premium, you may know from one of our other videos, is zero premium. You do not pay for this. And the way that that works is if you or your spouse worked 40 quarters or 10 years, then you're eligible for Medicare Part A without any premium. Now, this is really important because we don't frequently see people who don't work 40 quarters, but I distinctly remember once we had a client in the office and he had worked, I think it was 38 and a half quarters, and he was 1.5 quarters away from getting his Part A covered at 100%. And the amount that you would pay for that Part B premium made it pretty clear that he was going to work, I think it was about another 5 months, to go ahead and make sure that for the rest of his life, he got this Medicare Part A for zero premium. Now, if you never worked but your spouse did, you could pull off your spouse's. So frequently we get the question, how much more am I going to pay for my Part B, seeing as I was a higher earner? And we want to go ahead and dive through that with you very briefly. So your individual tax return or joint or married and separate is here. You could see these three. And again, as a reminder, this is based off your 2023 income because we look 2 years back on Medicare. So if you could see 106 or less, 106 to 133, it goes all the way up to if you as an individual were making 500,000 or more, or as a joint, you're making 750,000 or more, you could just kind of see how this chart moves through it. So essentially, the average person in 2025 is paying $185 for their Medicare Part B premium. Now, seeing as this continues, let me move out of the way a little bit. This continues to increase based on your income. You could be paying up to $628.90. This obviously gets very significant for a lot of people. And as a reminder, this is only the Part B premium. Now, we have many videos about this, and we talk about how you could take your Medicare Advantage or your Medicare Supplement and your Part D drug plan to pair with this. Well, the one thing that they implemented in the last 15 years or so is that not only does Part B have an income increase, but Part D does as well. So I'm going to kind of move through all of these, but much like the Part B dollars, you can see your Part D. As you make more and more, they add more and more to your premium. So essentially at the top here, where I said you were going to essentially pay just under $630, you're also going to be paying just under $86 in addition to your Part D premium. So these are important for you to know because $13 doesn't seem like a lot, but you're doing that on top of the $259 and whatever plan you select. So it's just something that I think is very important for you to be aware of. So dependent, as I mentioned again, on where your income in 2023 or 2 years prior is what dictates what you pay for that Part B and Part D. All right, so the question that we get very frequently is, how will I know this? What happens if my income goes down after I retire, etc. So let me go over a couple of other quick things. So if you are required to pay a higher premium, Social Security will tell you via letter. So you'll just receive that in the mail. And if your income changes, so let's say you were a higher earner while you were working and you retire at 67. Well, if they're still going to look 2 years back, they're going to charge you that higher Part B premium. There is a process where you can appeal to Social Security to say, I was making that much, but I'm no longer making anywhere near that amount. We've seen some people, Social Security, say that's fine, you can pay the reduced amount. We've seen a lot, Social Security still say, no, you need to pay the higher amount. It's worth attempting because, as I just talked about earlier, there are some high dollar amounts that we're talking about. I mean, $630 is a lot. So it's worth trying, but no promises there. So, If you do have a significant decrease, call Social Security, 800-772-1213. They'll determine if an adjustment makes sense. They'll also, there's a form you can find online as well. And the common income changes, as I kind of just mentioned, you get married, you get divorced, you're widowed, you stop working, kind of how I just said, you're terminated, you lose your job, and they will ask to see the documentation and the proof of change in your income. Some of these situations, I think they're a little more friendly to adjusting that Part B premium down than others, but it's always worth a shot. The worst they can say is no, and then you're still paying the higher amount. So really, at the end of the day, this can obviously get pretty expensive for a lot of people if you are a higher earner, but it's worth attempting if your income does change. But if not, know that it will regulate over time. Cheers.